Channel 8, more local, more often. From across Maryland, Virginia, and the District, this is Washington's 24-hour local news leader. News Channel 8's Live Tonight starts right now.
Straight ahead on Live Tonight at 5, a local woman wakes up in the middle of the night to a man touching her. Tonight, police investigate whether this case may be linked to others in Loudoun County. We're live with more. Plus, there may be bad news at the pump, but it's good news on the roads. Traffic fatalities are way down. And Barack Obama agrees to have 2 names put in nomination at the Democratic Convention in an effort to smooth things over in his party. We'll tell you what it all means. Thanks for joining us live tonight at 5 o'clock. I'm Beverly Kirk. We begin tonight on much. Will D.C. public schools be ready to open this fall? That's the question D.C. Voice is asking. The local watchdog group held a rally just outside the Wilson building today after the closure and consolidation of several district schools this summer, plus the firing of hundreds of teachers and staff. D.C. Voice says it will keep a close eye on what happens on August 25th when class is back in session.
The school system is spending lots of energy to be ready. And we take some credit for that because we started shining the spotlight on this about 5 years ago, and we said, you know, how you start is how you go on. We think you should be ready for the kids when the kids come to school.
To get a sense of how ready schools are, D.C. Voice will interview principals at 116 schools starting in September. This year, D.C. Voice says it's calling on the business community and local universities to get more involved with public schools in the district. Joining me now live with more is the Executive Director of D.C. Voice, Jeff Smith. Jeff, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me again, Beverly.
Your group is seeking to hold both the schools and the community accountable for providing a quality education for students. How do you plan to do that?
Well, we have a unique approach to doing that, which is involving the community by sending team by team school audits or auditors, teams of school auditors out from the community. Last year, we sent them into 137 different schools. Using 191 of those volunteers, they collected 7,000 pieces of data that led to 5 different Ready Schools project reports over different subjects. We then use those volunteers to present it to the media, the city council, the mayor, and the chancellors and say, this is what your principals and teachers said. They really need to effectively move student achievement inside the classroom.
Over the summer, you had high school student leaders interview more than 500 D.C. residents to get their views about the school system. What did they tell you?
Well, we heard some very interesting things today. That was also why we were gathered there at Freedom Plaza for the release of that poll. And we heard, interestingly enough, that the community had less confidence in the business community and university community's support of public schools than the public school system themselves. We saw the younger that people were when interviewed. Of those over 600 people that were interviewed in front of Giants, Safeway, CVS, by our DCPS high school kids, the younger you were, the less you felt confidence in the public school system. The older and middle-aged folks actually tended to have more confidence in the school system.
You're calling on the community, local businesses, and universities to be more involved in D.C. schools, but aren't many of these groups already involved?
Well, we had 122 organizations join us this year to endorse the Ready Schools project, so that's a great start. But of the 500,000 almost, residents in the District of Columbia, we want to get more and more folks involved, not just in our audit, which we definitely encourage people to do, but go in and see how they can help their local school community, join in PTA, whether you have kids there or not, and being part of a constant, vigilant effort to really see that student achievement moves and that principals and teachers have the resources they need to move it.
And why is their involvement so important?
Well, we could do our approach and our research just in our offices, and that's why we use community action research. We don't want to just go to the community and say, this is what we found or this is what we believe should be done, but we have the community do their own research. We work with universities in the community to find out what should be asked, and that way we have more and more people behind those recommendations, those advocacy efforts, and they can go down to City Council or the Mayor's office or the Chancellor with us and say, this is what we want to see done by next year.
As I mentioned earlier, this fall you're going to interview more than 100 principals anonymously about the state of schools. What do you expect to hear, and why do it anonymously?
Well, we offer school by school unanimity because we want people to really have confidence and incentive to tell us the truth. We do report from a system-wide basis, so we can tell you 67% of principals said this, but we won't tell you here's what a principal at Ballou or Anacostia said. And we've found over the years it's really encouraged people to be very forthcoming, notwithstanding who hired them, notwithstanding who could get rid of them, that they say this is what I did get, and sometimes the results are very positive. And they say this is what I need and did not receive, and sometimes those are things we definitely need to work on because there's a negative result.
And when you get the information from the principals, what are you going to do with it? Present it to the school's chancellor?
Well, we've always given the DCPS and City Council the courtesy of a briefing before we release it publicly, and then we also first brief just our community auditors that helped us collect the information. We had a green eggs and ham breakfast last year to do that, and we'll do that again. We'll release it in the fall this year, and we'll be particularly looking at 2 areas in addition to the 4 traditional areas. We want to know, with all the transition, there were 22 schools closed, what was the impact of that, and what did principals say did follow them to their new school and did not. And we also really want to look at, based on what volunteers from last year said, professional development, and know what kind of training was held over the summer and what principals say they really want to see held going forward.
All right, Jeff Smith, Executive Director of DC Voice, thanks for coming in tonight. Great to see you.
All right, thank you for having me.
Coming up at the top of our next half hour.